Hello, folks, on this beautiful sunny Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. As usual, my name is Todor Vladov, and I'm back with the 47th episode of Keeping It Realistic. During today's show, which, as you know, is done in collaboration with Chaos, we'll take a look at some really exciting news, announcements, tutorials, but also sources of learning and courses coming your way. Now, we'll discuss two work in progress projects that are already finalized, but their story is very interesting to share. And we will be checking out some of your works from the last 2 weeks as a source of inspiration. Remember, we do this show as a live session so that you can actively participate in the discussions, interact with each other, interact with myself. So don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, share your thoughts and opinions, and just generally be active. And with this out of the way, welcome, folks. Hope you're fine. Hope you're having a great start in March. By the way, March? It's already March. I cannot believe this. It feels like the year just started and we are already approaching the end of the first quarter of this. This is really feeling weird, but it's the way it is, I guess. So we have to deal with it. And if we gotta talk about time flying, wait until you have kids, because one moment you're changing their diapers, and then the next one they have, they want to spend time with somebody else. They have sleepovers with friends, and they don't want to spend so much time with you. This really hurts, actually. Now, let me check the comments. I don't know if I can see my comment section. Here it is. I'll detach it as a window, as a pop out, so that I can be able to see what you guys are doing in the comment section, because I see you're already being very, very active here. Amit is here, Simon, Danushka. Hello, folks. It's great to have you. And there are also many watching and just lurking without saying anything. And that's okay. That's great. As long as you have fun and we hang out with us, it's always great to have you here. So, Abdi also joined us right now. Great to see you, Abdi. Now, last show was a very long one. Obviously, it was a special episode. There was a good reason for it to be almost 3 hours long. But with this one, I'll do my best to keep it shorter, better half of what we had last time. So at around 1.5 hours, I hope we can manage to do it. But of course, in the end of the day, we also want to hang out together. We want to discuss topics with each other. So we won't be rushing it, but we won't be taking it too slow either. I see Mario. Hey, Sadeghi. What a cool name. I am probably, wait a second. Saifeddin. I'm very sorry. Screwed it up the first time around. The second time I probably butchered it as well. But still, glad to have you here. Abe is also here. We'll be talking about your work in progress, my dear friend. He says, hello, folks. Hi, everyone. Just talking right now. Happy Tuesday to all. How's your Tuesday, actually, folks? Here, it's really sunny. Now, Germany in the beginning of March can usually be really rainy and cold, temperatures below zero. But right now, we have something around 12 degrees. It's absolutely sunny, blue sky. It's a wonderful day outside. Unfortunately, you see nothing of this because my studio is facing east, so I don't have any sun anymore, and I also have to darken it so that we have a bit of a more consistent and balanced lighting. But apart from this, it's a beautiful day here, and it's going to be a beautiful week as well. Amit says, yes, it was a long, interesting show, and it gave me only 15 minutes to have my dinner and get ready for the next show. Yeah, well, sometimes it is the way it is, but I really enjoyed that you said that you didn't feel how the time just went over almost 3 hours long, and it didn't feel as long as it actually was, which I think is a great evidence for a quality show, if you ask me. Mario says he has 45 degrees centigrade. This sucks. Well, yeah, this sounds like it, but I mean, if you ask me, because here it started to get gloomy and cold in October, probably. So it's been October, November, December, January, February, March. So after 6 months, I would take the 45 degrees for a few days at least. I gotta be honest. I'm in my village for vacation with my kids and family, and it's hot. Summer has started. Wow, lucky you guys. Great to hear that, and also great to hear that you're on vacation and you still were watching the show. So, okay, let's keep it not as long as usual. Let's jump into our topics and get over with our show so that you can go back to your kids because at some point your wife will be mad at me, right? Wong is here. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for another episode. Good morning. Is it morning where you are? That's pretty cool. Here it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. But whatever it is, it's great that you're here. Let's jump in and start talking about our today's topics. As usual, in the beginning, we'll take a look at our title image for today's show. The works for which were contributed by Paria, Romain, and Yaman. Congrats to all three artists. It's really cool to see the works by two ladies on our cover. This doesn't happen that often, and I always enjoy it. And what's also really cool to see is how these vastly different implementation of center perspective can be harmonizing so well next to each other and making for a really beautiful triptych. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I actually had other versions. Let me show them to you. This is the version that I decided to share in the end. My initial version actually looked more like this, but I figured out that that is eventually a bit too dark, a bit too gritty and gloomy for the actually pretty cool mood that we have in this show. So I scrapped it and decided to go with this one instead. But gladly let me know in the comments which version you would have preferred. Anyway, you already saw the second cover that we'll be enjoying now because, as you know, since last September, the Facebook group cover is featuring your works. In the end of every show, I present you with my selection for the best images of the last two shows that you then get to vote for until the next show. And the winner from the last vote was Janita with his Calmness Through the Frame image. It's a wonderful work. Typical for Janita, work with beautiful mood, warm, cozy, inviting, but also very realistic, and what's more, very authentic, very down to earth, which makes it relatable. You know, we often see images that are beautiful to look at, but they are very catalog like something that you could have only if you have millions on your account. But this one here doesn't look like this. I personally know people whose bedrooms look very similar to what Janita has depicted here. And this is what I really enjoy about this work. It's not over the top, it's down to earth and it's relatable, which makes it even nicer. And I think it makes for a wonderful cover image. So congrats, Janita. And as for the new contenders that you can vote for in the next 2 weeks, I'll be showing those to you by the end of the show. I'll check the comments. Abe says, hi Theo, do you work on Chaos Group team? I think you can be a great visualization advisor in the Chaos Group. Well, I collaborate with Chaos Group, but I am not a part of the company. Amit says, she, meaning his wife, I assume, is mad at me as she wanted me my help in the kitchen, and I said the show has started now. I'll meet you after 2 hours. Good luck. Well, okay, you can excuse yourself with me. You can say that this dude just cannot stop talking and you need to listen to him or something. But I mean, our show gets its recording the moment it's done. So if you cannot attend, I fully understand it. You know, the same way on the weekends, I'm mostly of the group and I'm not really, you cannot really reach out to me or something because this is my family time. So if you do the same, I absolutely understand and support it, to be honest. Mariana is here. Hi, dear. Hi, dear. Back to you. Amit says the second image for the show looks cool, as I mentioned earlier. Why do I like the second version more? Well, the second version, you mean this one here? This one? Well, it's cool. I think it definitely works out as a composition. It's pretty cool, but maybe it's a bit too dark. I think this one is appealing to a wider audience. This is why I decided to go with it. Anyway, Max Schmidt saying, "Are you Bulgarian?" Yes, I am. But I'm half Bulgarian, half German, I would say, because in the meantime, I have spent more years in Germany than I have spent in Bulgaria. So yeah, I have a German pass as well. So yeah, I'm a Bulgarian. This is where I was born, where I grew up, but afterwards I moved to Germany. So yeah, I'm both. Anyway, if we continue this way, the show will be 4 hours long. So yeah, let's check out the news. Okay. So I will just close this one so that we can still take a glimpse in the group, and let's check out the news, starting with the chaos calendar. In our, oh, Max says Pozdravy od Bulgaria. So are you a German living in Bulgaria? Because this would be, of course, very, very cool. But yeah, thank you and greets back to Bulgaria. So, news, the chaos calendar, the upcoming events. Last times we checked, there wasn't much to see here. In the meantime, you see we have many dates to look at. Tomorrow, March 5th, we'll have the 3D Athens and the 3D London happening, both amazing events. At some point, I will visit one of those, better both of them, but of course they're in pretty different directions, so it has to be one after the other if they keep happening at the same day. Apart from this, Chaos is pretty much on tour through the USA, in LA, in Boston, in Nashville. But if you wanna, let's say, if this American continent is too far away for you and Europe is closer, Chaos got your back because there is Chaos meetup approaching on March 20th in Berlin. If you remember, a year ago, I was there. It was amazing. It was an Arvis masterclass with Nikos, an on-site class, followed by this Chaos Unbox event. This is how it was called 1 year ago. Now it's called a Chaos Meetup. It doesn't matter in the end of the day. What matters is that those amazing people, amazing speakers, are invited to speak in front of the audience for absolutely free. The ticket doesn't cost a dime. And what's more, there is even food and drinks behind the curtains, which is absolutely amazing. You get to not only listen to those speakers, but also meet them and talk to them in person, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on the Chaos event calendar, because it can be that some of these events may be happening next to where you are or in an area that you can reach. And as you know, visiting such events, being a part of them is essential for networking, for your future, for learning new people, and so on. So, yeah, keep an eye on this. Um, okay, let's continue with more news from Chaos. So, you've probably seen this video, we posted it in the group. Evolve Lab has joined Chaos. This happened on February 19th, and it's actually quite exciting, especially for those of you who are architects, designers, or engineers, because Evolve Lab is one of the leading providers of design technology services for the last 10 years. They're specialized in BIM management. For those of you who don't know, BIM is building information modeling, also computational design, and in the development of AI tools for the visualization and ideation. They already actually have some tools. Let's check out their page. You see here the announcement as well, here at the top. And they already have some tools that can really make your life easier during the design process, like Veras here, which is an AI rendering tool that is already available for Rhino, SketchUp, and Vectorworks. And yeah, if you check this page, you'll see some examples of this tool being used. So more or less, you can have just a model, and then with the help of this tool, you can actually turn it into a rendering through a prompt, which is, of course, very, very convenient, especially during the design process. So I would say Evolve Lab is definitely an exciting new member of the Chaos family, and I'm really curious to see where this partnership will lead us to in future. I assume, personally, I don't know anything about this, to be honest with you, but I assume it would be going more in the direction of Escape and Envision more than, let's say, Corona or V-Ray. But I'm not sure about this because, as you know, well, a topic that we'll be just talking about just in a second, but as you know, the AI enhancement from Escape is coming over to Corona and V-Ray probably within this year. So it is very probable that Evolve Lab may be helping out with the AI department, which is something which wouldn't be only focused on Escape or Envision, but also on the other render engines as well, which would be really, really amazing. So we'll be keeping an eye on this, and I really hope that this new partnership is something that we all get to profit from. But of course, even if it's only the people who are into AAC, so architecture, engineering, and construction, it's still great for them as well, right? Now, talking about future plans, the Corona roadmap for
Yeah, from the Corona
2025
team, as
has
part
been
of our
published
plans
in
for
a
both
form of a video
2027 missions,
with Tom
we
Grimes
kind of
reading
look
us
at
through
what's
the
ahead
goals
in
or
2025.
showcasing the
So this is kind
goals
of
the
our
Corona team
roadmap or
has
our
till the end
plan
of
for the year.
2025.
Now, for the
So, as
morning
far as I
of
can tell,
5,
two
we're
full versions are
planning.
planned: Corona
This is what's
13th in June and
planned, what
Corona
we
14th
want
for
to achieve.
November.
In no way is this
In March, an
guaranteed.
update, the second
Things
update for
can
Corona
be
12,
in the
should
world
be
of
out
development, things can change
alongside many
anytime.
new features. So not
So
the
this is the
12
plan, what we
Corona
want
12
to do,
update 2,
what we
but
intend to
until the
do,
end of
and
the
some of
year,
the
many
time I
new
make in this
features are
video,
planned,
but it can
such as a
change.
toon shader, Firefly
That's
removal,
going on
the
in
AI
videos
enhancer
for
from
2025
Escape,
looks like.
DCC
On the
animations to
13th of
Vantage, and
June and
many,
on the
many more. So
14th
if you
of
want to know
November.
all of them,
But
just
before
check the
then,
video.
in
It's
March, there'll be a
linked
little
in the
branch off.
group. You
We
can
will
find it
have to use
there.
Corona 12
And
to
yeah,
plan
many great
what we're going
ideas to
to
look
work
forward
towards
to in
Corona
near
13.
future.
Anything that's
And
finished,
of
tested,
course,
and
keep in
ready,
mind
we will
that this is
release
just
when we
the
add towards
plan. These
Corona
are the
12
goals of
Update
the
2
Corona team
in
until the end
March.
of the year. And
So
as
the first
always,
things we'll be
things
adding is toon
happen.
shading. This is for
Sometimes something
long-standing
that you
request from
thought
users,
won't be taking as
and
long
it's part
happens
of
to
the
take
Rankathon.
too
You
long,
mentioned it in
so
the history of
everything is
Corona video.
becomes slower because of this.
Basically,
But
for
let's hope that they
50
can
hobby
fulfill their
developers who
goals,
want to
and
get
by
together
the end of
and
the
decide
year,
to
we
tackle
will
a
have
particular
two
project,
new
subject,
versions. We'll be using Corona
functionality, and
14.
see how
It will
far
be
we can
having a
take them.
toon shader.
So what you
The
see is
connection, the live
the
link to
results
Vantage will be
of
better,
working with
and
toon shading
it will
for
be
Corona.
amazing because, as you
So you
know,
can see
I
that
love
it's
Corona. This
well
is my
underway.
favorite Chaos
So
project,
this will be
and
added
the
in
more it
Corona 13.
evolves, the better it becomes, the
So
more
as a
I
side effect
enjoy
of
it.
introducing toon
And I'm
shading, we had
sure
to work on
most of
upgrade
you do
differentials.
as well.
That work is
Now, if
obviously
you want to know
completed.
more about the past of Corona, because this was the future, if you want to know more about Corona's past, then you can watch another video called 10 Years of Corona Renderer, the story
It's
so
Tom here
far,
from the Corona
where
team.
Tom takes
Maybe
us
you've seen me
on
before,
a
maybe
trip
you met
down
me at
memory
an event
lane
or a conference,
and
maybe you've
tells
seen
us
me
the
give an
story
online
of Corona from
presentation,
the very
or perhaps
beginnings
you've seen me
until
on a
present
haunted
day.
pub stop.
And it's such a
Either
pleasure to
way,
watch
today
this
I'm
video and
here
see
to
how
celebrate a
Corona
very
evolved
special
over the
event.
years.
It's
It's a
Brunas'
video that I
10th
definitely
birthday. It's
recommend.
10 years
It's
since the
25
release
minutes
of
long.
Corona.
Even
On
if
the
you're
go,
not a Corona user, take a look at it because it's a story of creation. It's the story of an idea that people really believed in and worked hard on and turned into something which is absolutely amazing nowadays. You must imagine the moment they decided to do Corona,
and yes,
V-Ray was
after having
already a thing, and
seen
it was a
the
big
guitars
thing.
in the
It
background
was a
in every
standard, so to
single
speak.
time I'm
And they still
online,
went, no,
I
our idea is also
decided
good enough.
to
It can
record a
exist
special
next to
track for
V-Ray.
that little short
And they
video.
did it, and this is exactly
Maybe
what
you wanted
happened.
to hear the
Corona and
guitars
V-Ray
rather than just see
coexist,
them.
and Corona focuses more on
Anyway,
architectural
this
visualization,
presentation is
more on the
going to be about
simple
the
side of
history
things.
of Corona.
And
We're going to take
nowadays,
you
it is
through
probably one of the
from the
most
early
popular
days, way
render
back
engines when
before
it comes
1.0,
to architectural
through the release of
visualization. So
1.0,
it's
and
just a
up
pleasure and
to
really
present day.
inspiring
I hope you
to hear
find it
this story,
interesting.
to see the way, the growth of Corona until it is what it is today. And of course, all of those videos, once again, this video is also linked in the group. So if you're curious about it, you can find it on the Chaos Corona YouTube channel or directly into the Chaos Campus group. And of course, all of these videos aren't coincidental. They're a part of Corona's 10th anniversary celebrations. And as you know, in this group, we actually started those celebrations with the last episode of Keeping It Realistic, which was a special edition. Um, there is a recording of the show. This is the episode I referred to in the beginning, which was almost 3 hours
which is
long.
when we shared them. But
But
I'll be wrapping all that
it
up
was
in a
definitely
25-minute
worth it.
presentation
As
on
Amit
the
said in the
history of
beginning, it was
Keep
something
an
really
eye
special
out
because,
for
as you
that.
know, for the last
And
one and a
then,
half years,
okay,
it's
looking
only
back is
been
one
me
thing, but
talking
want
to
to look
you through the
forward as
camera,
well. I'll
us
have
hanging
another
out
video
here, and we never
which
had
will look
guests.
forward to
And all
what
of a
we
sudden,
plan.
we hosted this huge event with so many guests, with a huge panel of 7 incredible people. Like on the Kel side, we had Tom, we had Kalina, and then as power users, we had Nadia, Luis, Dionysius, Mike, and Nikos, and all of those people have so much to tell, so much to share. And not only their love for Corona and their Corona stories, but also their wisdom and experience. And they were also answering your questions in the end. And this is why I decided to not interrupt the flow, not interrupt them when they talk, and just let it happen. And even if it's 3 hours or 3.5 hours, because something like this, so many talented people gathered at one place, is something which happens really seldomly. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, there is a recording in the group, but there is also a high quality recording as well, because we did it using Riverside, and Riverside offers also high quality recordings with better sound. And this video will soon also be available, I think, outside the group as well, probably on the Chaos page or on the Corona YouTube channel. I'm not sure where, but soon it will be also available for wider audience. So yeah, those people who aren't group members yet will be able to also view the show at some point. Amit says it was really worth it. I really love hearing this. Thank you, Amit, and thanks to everyone who was there, who was active and asking questions. I think having those people and hearing what they have to say is something really special, because it's not only their knowledge when it comes to 3D. In the end of the show, we were discussing topics such as starting a career in 3D, or a healthy work-life balance. Because in the end of the day, if your health gives up on you, you won't be able to achieve absolutely nothing. Because without health, a good health on your side, you simply aren't there anymore. So this is an important topic, and I was very happy to hear them talk about doing sports or hobbies or photography and whatnot. So you see those people who are absolute experts with tons of experience, some of them like Dionysius, who's been doing this for 30 years or more, and you hear them say, hey, I have time for my friends, I have time for my family, I have time for myself, for my health. Or Nadia saying, hey, I do sports 5 times a week, and this is an obligatory part of my schedule. It's not that if I have time, I have to have time for this in order to keep my physical and mental health good, in order to be able to be a good artist. So all of these points were very, very insightful and very important as well. So if you have missed it, go watch it, because once again, otherwise you cannot reach out to those people. You know with which studios they work, but you won't be able to just phone them and ask them something on the phone, right? So here they were for all of us, answering our questions and being here for us. So yeah, definitely watch it if you have missed it. Amit says, thank you once again, Theo, for arranging such a show. You're very welcome. The group was mostly arranged by Kalina, which I'm also very thankful for. And the show itself went really, really well, I think. Even if it was the first time with guests, yeah, we started 5 minutes later than we should have, because we had some technical difficulties in the beginning. But apart from that, everything else was pretty smooth, I would say. It didn't look like this was the very first attempt with guests and we were trying to figure it out. It was actually very nicely done. So, yeah. Oh, I see that you don't see my window properly. I'm sorry for that. Anyway, Takur joined us. Hello, man. We are done with our news section. It's time to talk about our learning section. And as always, I'll start with the Chaos Academy page, because I know for those of you who watch the show, who watch every episode of the show, this is getting repetitive and maybe a bit boring. But with our group constantly growing and more people watching the show for the first time, I want to make sure that everybody knows about the Chaos Academy, because it's simply awesome. There one can learn stuff about V-Ray, Escape, and Vantage. And the best thing about it is all of this is completely free. Knowledge for free, directly from the source. only thing I can do is recommend it. So if you want to learn something new, polish your skills eventually, this is a great place to start. Of course, the Chaos Academy isn't the only option for us to learn from Chaos. Chaos also offers masterclasses, and I want to show you a few of those. So yeah, we have the Getting Started with V-Ray free webinar approaching. It will take place exactly in a week from now on. It will just start an hour later. So our show started at 4 p.m. Central European time, and this starts at 5 p.m. And it will discuss some really interesting topics, the basics of rendering and its importance, why choose V-Ray, why not Corona, for example. There will be a live demo. Live demos are always great. And of course, the most important part, the Q&A section. It will be held in the V-Ray version for Rhino, SketchUp, and Revit. So if you are a user of that version, or if you have general questions for V-Ray 7, make sure to write them down, join this webinar, and then use the Q&A section to get your questions answered. Obviously, there is the Chaos Forum, there is the Chaos support as well. Both are amazing, but it's always great if you have a live show and you can just put your question out there and get it answered immediately. It's always great, so use this option for sure. Also, we have an ongoing masterclass, which is the Master and Escape, the Deep Dive series. First lesson took place last week, and the topic of it was the art of composition. So as you can tell, I mean, it's about Escape, but the topic is absolutely render engine non-specific. This is why, you know, I'm a Corona user. I was there. I also saw some of you there as well. Simon, Amit were there, maybe more of you. And the good thing is that there is also a recording of this. Now, you know, for example, contrary to the RV's masterclasses with Nikos Nikolopoulos, where if you miss a lesson, then you have missed it for good and you won't be able to view a recording because there is none. You actually have to hope that Nikos and Chaos decide to do a rerun of the masterclasses in a year from now on, which actually is happening this year because the first time we had the master classes in 2024 and some people missed out on them, couldn't see every episode, every lesson, and luckily for them, Chaos and Nikos decided to do a rerun of the master classes, which is happening once again this year, but once again there is no recording there. Here, however, there is a recording that you can find on the official Chaos and Escape YouTube channel, where you can watch everything about the art of composition. If you have missed this, I will also gladly drop this in the comments as well. And of course, it's still better to attend live because once again, you can ask questions. If you want to, the next episode is going to be on March 25th, 2025, so in 3 weeks from now, and the topic is going to be another universal one, the power of light. So even if you're not an Escape user, gladly check out those webinars or those masterclasses. I'll quickly check the chat because Amit says, I completed the Vantage course and then Aga from Arvis Artist video on Corona and Vantage came out and it really cleared out some of the questions that I had, and now I just have to figure out a small remaining part, so it was really, really good. Well, definitely. I mean, obviously, this is not the whole knowledge, not everything about those render engines, but it is definitely a good start or maybe an intermediate level knowledge for sure. And yeah, once again, it's for free. And of course, there are multiple courses out there. But in the end of the day, if you attend all the courses available, it becomes quite expensive. So getting occasionally knowledge for free is always a good thing, I would say. Jihan joined us very well. Glad to have you here, Jihan. We'll be talking about a work of yours in the inspirational part in the end of the show. Now, talking about masterclasses, let me show you one which is by our friends at the Common Point. It's the 3D plus AI masterclass, which is very fresh out of the oven. It's live since yesterday, literally. And it is meant to teach you how to improve your 3D workflow with the power of AI. So in whatever phase of your work, being in the reference creation in the beginning or the render enhancement in the end, with this course, you should be able to use AI to the max in order to make your work better, which is, of course, amazing. If you reach out and book a seat within the next 2 weeks, so until March 16th, if I'm not mistaken, there is even an early bird discount for you as well. So now there are 2 great courses at your disposal, the Creative Lighting AI Masterclass and the 3D plus AI Masterclass by the Common Point. Given that this is not mathematics, this is not something which is like it is the way it is. 1 + 1 is 2. It is. There are multiple ways to approach AI. The same way there are multiple ways to approach visualization. It would actually be great if we could actually book both courses and participate in both courses. But in the end of the day, it's also a matter of availability and affordability. So yeah, maybe check out both courses, see which one is suits you better, and then you can join it. And yeah, all the best to our friends at the Common Point. I'm very, very sure that they will be doing an amazing job with this course, the same way I'm sure with Nikos, because I know those people, and I know that when they try to teach something, they really give their best. They give everything they have in order to share their knowledge. They don't hold back anything. So whichever course you decide to go for, I think you'll definitely profit from. And I'll probably also be joining one of those 2. I can't tell which one. Anyway, let's continue with the next topic. I think from now on we'll be talking about tutorials. Yeah, right. So first tutorial that I want to show you is 3ds full 3ds Max 2024 course. As Bilal puts it, the only beginner course you need to learn 3ds Max. I'm not sure you can call it a full one, because 2 hours definitely won't be covering everything Max has to offer. However, what it covers is definitely most of the main modifiers, functions, and situations needed for everyday work, and this is absolutely amazing already. So a clear recommendation on my side for this course by Bilal, because you can learn, especially as a beginner, you can learn a lot from it, which will make your start with Max easier. Okay, now let's continue with another course. This is by the Corona team themselves, with Nate Skila, explaining how the AI upscaling for Corona 12 Update 1 works, and how to enable it too, because in the end of the day there are actually 2 types of AI enhancement in Corona already. The first one is for the final renders, for production render, so to speak, and the other ones is for the interactive render. And in order to turn them on, to make them available, to make it work, these are very, very different settings you need to go for. So you really need to follow this tutorial to know how to do that. And my personal advice on this topic, when it comes to the upscaling for production renders, I recommend it only if you do animations or image sequences, because obviously through the upscaling and enhancement, some detail is lost and the quality isn't as good as it could be. So if you're rendering single images, probably don't use the Inkscape, the upscaling for productional renders. However, definitely turn on the upscaling for interactive rendering. Because especially if you're testing out stuff, let's say you're testing out HDRIs, different lighting scenarios, maybe camera positioning and stuff like this, it will just save you a ton of time. It renders in quarter of the resolution and scales it up to the resolution you want to have. And this is, of course, way quicker than rendering the full resolution, right? So the image clears up way quicker, and you're able to see the result, not extremely clear, but you're able to see the result way quicker, which saves you time. I used the upscaling for the interactive rendering on my latest work, and where I needed to try out many different HDRIs, and it was godsend. It saved me so much time. Definitely a recommendation on my side. And finally, two tutorials by Abdi. Janita joined us. Hello, man. Congrats on your image being our new cover of the group. It looks amazing there. So back to Abdi's tutorials. First one is this, how do I call it? Fence Wizard macro tutorial for 3ds Max and RealClone Pro. So you need the Pro version of RealClone in order to run this macro.
Open the editor.
Yes, I'm at the right place here, sorry. It's a 1 hour long tutorial because the macro is pretty complex. And it is complex because it is incredibly flexible and you need an explanation in order to be able to know how to use it, because it has tons of different settings that you can choose from. You can see them here. But in the end, you will be able to create various very complex fences and also change their design, their layout, the way they act very quickly. And not only fences, but also railings as well, which is, of course, great. Here in the end, you even see Abdi doing a prison court fence, which is amazing. Everything is done with one and the same macro. And so definitely recommend this one. And the best thing about it, I haven't mentioned even, Abdi is actually giving the macro out for free. And this is really difficult to imagine because this is such a professionally done macro for RealClone. Just take a look at all the options here, and everything is labeled and everything is just so complex. In the usual case, every artist who will be doing something like this will be selling it, but Abdi is giving it out for free because he's awesome, I'd say. And then there is a second tutorial by him. It's about creating pitched roofs very quickly and easily in 3ds Max with the help of Tyflow. And as you can see, this one is barely 5 minutes and shows you how to create complex pitched roof geometry in seconds with the Ty-spline mesher. And honestly, as somebody who has done lots of bird views and images for, let's say, urban architecture, and somebody also living in Germany who, in Germany, for some reason, the classic building, even if it's an apartment house, has a pitch roof to it. And unfortunately, it's not like a, single unit house with very simple pitched roof. A lot of the buildings that I had to deal with throughout my career looked something like this. So creating the pitch roofs there was just so much tedium. It was so... I've spent hours, if not days, creating pitched roofs for my surroundings. And this is a time that always felt like it's a time wasted. And seeing this brought a tear to my eye, let me be honest with you, because it makes it look just like a, it's so easy. It's a cakewalk from now on. So definitely, if you have to deal with pitched roofs, take a look at this tutorial because it will show you how to create them in a matter of seconds and not waste your time anymore. And of course, thank you Abdi, and thank you Nades, Bilal, and everyone who's sharing their knowledge with us, with the community, for free especially. It's really appreciated. Abdi says, my pleasure. Thank you very much for mentioning them. Much appreciated. Yeah, I want everyone to know about this because they're amazing. They're time savers. They're sometimes even lifesavers. So yeah, people should know about this. Amit says, awesome Abdi. Thank you for the macros. You're most welcome. Okay, so we're done with this part. We are 40 minutes in. Yeah, we talked a lot in the beginning, so I'll try to be a bit quicker now, but once again, we don't want to rush it. Let's go over to our work in progress section. Now, we had many work in progress projects recently, and last Friday, as I shared this, and by the way, for those that are new to the format or this initiative, the moment you see a clay render shared by me with this stamp saying work in progress stamp on it, it is time for you, you're gladly invited to share the current state of your work, with the idea behind this being that while you're working on a project, it is better to get the criticism, some constructive criticism for your work, and then implement it and do everything right the first time around, instead of finishing your project, sharing it in the group, getting the feedback then, and having to go back and rework things. So this is the whole idea of the initiative, and it's been going strong since last September. And more people tend to participate. However, last Friday, as I shared this, nobody uploaded a work in progress, which is absolutely okay. It's not obligatory. It's just an option for you. So I decided to take the chance and actually show you two finalized works because of their backstory or the way everything developed with those two works. So the first one is a work by Abe. Abe, you're in the comments. Do you pronounce your name correctly? I googled how to pronounce it, and there are multiple options. You can say Abe or whatever. I say Abe. I hope it's okay for you. So Abe with his Vista del Sol scene. Let's hear what he has to say. This is where everything began, the very first phase of his project. Abe says, "Hi folks, this is my work in progress. A clay render of a Vista del Sol, a Spanish word for a view of the sun, evokes a sense of luxury and connection to nature. I just finished the environment lighting setup, and I will be starting to work on the materials and textures of the house and other necessary elements if needed. How can I improve the image's composition? What else do I need to add to improve its storytelling? Would it be great to add a car on the road or a man riding a bicycle? What kind of people should I add? And if I add some people, where should I put them, etc.? Please let me know what your thoughts are. Any suggestions are welcome. Happy Tuesday from my side. Architect Abe." This is how the clay render looks like in the very first phase, but let me first talk about the description. What I really love about this description here is that he describes what he has already done, he describes what he plans to do, and in this part here, there are specific topics he mentions and specific questions he needs an answer to. And this is a very great approach, especially when it comes to work in progress projects, because the more specific you are with your description and with your questions, the more specific the answers and feedback will be, which is something that you actually profit from. So what Abe is doing here is something really, really smart. As for the current state of the scene, it's actually a really promising clay render, nice framing, good lighting with a dark foreground, with the building being lit up, sticking out really nicely. There are of course some issues as well. The garage area is very dark and also pretty empty. The interior is pretty lifeless, nothing happening on the inside. The staircase is cut off. I didn't like this because the staircase is leading to the entrance of the building, and usually the entrance area of a building is a very, very important area. So if there is something leading to it, you gotta show the whole of it. So yeah, if we go back to the post, you will see I shared my opinion here as a comment. Amit chimed in with his own opinion about like additional points that I hadn't mentioned, and Abe was very thankful about this, and only 4 days later this is what he shared. And as you can see, this is already looking way, way better. But let's take a look at the description once again. He writes, "Hi folks, last time I posted my work in progress of my architectural visualization titled as Vista del Sol. I appreciated the comments, suggestions of our admin Tudor Vladov, and also the suggestions of Mr. Amit. Mr. Amit, I'll call you like this from now on. Thanks to the feedbacks for improvements. Now I attached again a photo of my work in progress of the Vista del Sol with the applied suggestions of Mr. Theo and Amit as an update. I successfully implemented several suggestions, including warm light to the garage, interior furnishing, urban details such as a post box, street light, street name on the wall to the left, and a manhole cover. It's not visible because it's overridden in the moment. A kid's bike leaning on the ribs, different potted plants leading to the main entrance, showing the hose stairs as suggested, and a car exiting the garage. However, I'm still working on others, such as the partitioning of the windows. I'm unsure about Salvador's suggestions regarding the window glass partitioning. Could you please clarify, perhaps with a quick sketch on my clay render? Thanks in advance. So once again, this is a wonderful description. Not only does it have a list of all the implemented changes, but it also has further questions. And what's more, and this is a very important part here, it shows how much Abe cares about his work. And believe me, this is really important. Sometimes I've been providing feedback now for probably 6 years already, like on a weekly basis. And let me tell you that throughout those 6 years, I have seen very different artists with very different attitudes. And some of those artists would just drop their work and say, yeah, tell me your opinion, without any question, without explaining anything, without even giving their work a name. And honestly, when I see this, what I see is an artist who doesn't really respect their own work, but wants me to respect their work so much that I give some of my limited time, because people like me or Amit don't have endless amounts of time, right? We also have families, we have business to run and stuff. So if somebody expects me to share some of my time for them, to give it out for them, I at least need to see that they're respecting their own work. And if I don't see this, it's very difficult for me to respect their work and to feel the urge to help them. On the contrary, there are people like Abe, people where you can definitely, absolutely, immediately see how much they care, how much they want to do it, how much they want to learn. And you see how much effort they put, how much they respect their own time and work, and how much they also respect my time or Amit's or anybody else's who is eager to provide them with feedback. And helping those artists is such a pleasure, because you see, as somebody providing feedback, you see that it actually makes sense to help them, because not only do they listen to you, they appreciate what you do, and they put in the effort, and seeing how their work gets better because you shared a small part of your time with them, and now they're getting better. This is absolutely fulfilling, and this makes you want to do more. And as an evidence for what I just said, just take a look at this. So you already saw me providing Abe with feedback. You saw Amit providing him with feedback. Now he's back with an even better version, which looks really, really great. You see the garage is not dark anymore. The interiors are nicely hinted. The entrance area is better visible. The street space is lively. It's so much better. And now check the comments. Take a look at this very lengthy command by Amit. Take a look at my command. Why do we do this? Because we see that it makes sense to do this. Because we know that this dude is going to put in the effort. He really wants it. He really appreciates our time. And this makes us want to help him. Amit is in the comments. Dear Amit, or Mr. Amit, do you agree with me? Please put your thoughts in the comments. So yeah, let's continue with the final phase, the final version that Abe shared. This is this one. Let's hear what he has to say. Hi folks, just resumed work on it now. This is the finished final render of my project titled Vista del Sol, Spanish for View of the Sun. This is the result after following all suggestions and reviews from Salvador Vodov and Amit Gedia, from adjusting the views to show the whole stairs, to adding potted plants, to motion blur, to adding grout to the window glass, and so on. Thanks to them, I hope I followed their suggestions correctly. It was a great learning journey following their thoughts and ideas. I've learned how to add complexity to the scene through their guidance. I'm not sure which is better, the render with motion blur applied to the people and car, or the render without. They both look good, so I'm unsure. I think I slightly prefer the one with motion blur. What do you think? Originally, the house had only 2 painted walls, teal and white, but I added a red brick wall, this is the one he's referring to, set back from the teal wall, creating a layered effect and a unique aura to the juxtaposition. I think this adds visual interest. And here it becomes very, very interesting. I encountered a rendering problem during production. Every time the render reached almost 50%, SketchUp would crash. I rendered it several times before finding a solution. I had applied a displacement map to the road. Here you see the road, which is quite broad in the model. I suspected this large area with the displacement map was causing the problem. So I subdivided the road and applied the displacement map only to the portion captured by the camera. So only this part, not the part which is underneath the camera. If anyone, this reduced the total area covered by the map, and I successfully rendered the image. If anyone experiences this problem, no need to alter the map settings or delete the map or replace it. Simply subdivide the road to reduce the displacement maps area. This should resolve the issue. Abe. So what happened here? He's sharing the final version, but he's still asking questions because he wants to make the best out of his work. He's still asking questions. Do you like the version with motion blur or without? Do you think this and that? Because he wants it. And once again, because he wants it, take a look at this. Once again, lengthy comment by Amit, lengthy comment by me, because seeing his passion, this is kind of contagious, for people who are willing to help. We know he wants it and we want to support him in this. And the best thing about it, the final paragraph. As somebody who has gotten so much help already and is appreciative of it, he's already eager to start helping others, because decent human beings know that you cannot just be taking, you also have to give in order for this work to have some balance in it, right? And this is what he's doing here. He encountered an issue, he found a solution, and immediately shared it with the community, knowing that somebody may be reading this, another SketchUp user may have had a similar issue, and now they will know what to do. So you see how somebody who has gotten help now is immediately starting to give back. And this is exactly how this community is and how it should also be in future. Helping each other. You see, Abe his work improved a lot because of our feedbacks. But he also wants to contribute as well to this community. And you see, he's already doing it. And the more we do this, the more we give, the more we will be getting back. And I strongly still believe that this could at some point be one of the best communities for visualization in the whole internet, because this is not just another gallery or archive. This is an actual community, a society of helpful 3D people who support each other and uplift each other. And this is amazing. I'll read the comments. Amit says, I agree totally, and only Amit, Mr. Theo. Yeah, no, but this is really the case, and I think it's lovely to see this. And to you, Abe, your attitude, your discipline, and your willingness to put in the needed effort, in combination with what this group offers, the shows, the initiatives like the Work in Progress initiative, and this strong helping community, got you pretty far and can get anyone pretty far. It's up to every single artist to decide, will they participate? Are you willing to take but also give back? If so, this is the right community for you. I see a comment by Sheriff. I'll read it. Hi to all. Thanks a lot, Theodore, and to all the members, especially Amit, for providing me with valuable comments on my work I published on the group. It's really wonderful and constructive comments. You're very welcome. This is exactly what we were just talking about. And yeah, this is the goal of this community. And we'll be doing it more and more until more and more group members like Amit, but also not only, I see also Danushka and Abdi and Katzpa and Mario and others. I'm certainly forgetting names here. Until more of you start participating, because once again, you're also getting stuff back. It's not only altruism. The more you view and examine other artists' works, the more you learn from them. You learn what works, what looks good, then you remember it, subconsciously, and when it's time to do it for your work, you know what to do. And at the same time, the more mistakes you discover, the more things you see that don't work well, this is once again something you remember, and next time you won't be doing this mistake on your own. So you profit from this and you learn from this. This is not pure altruism. And I won't be even mentioning stuff like rewards for most active players and not players but members and stuff like this. Let's move on to the next work. And this is a very interesting one, and actually a very nice transition to the inspirational part of the show. It's Same's work, the Cairns apartment. And let's go. I'll read. This is like the current version. Let me read his description, and then we'll see how we'll continue. Same says, greetings, I finally finished the Cairns project and the outcome for me is a lot better compared to the last update I've posted on this valuable group. Thanks to Dorvado for every recommendation that you have mentioned. I learned a lot from them and thanks for every feedback that I've received on this project. Now, let's go back and see the version that Same is talking about. And here we'll do a bit of an interesting analysis. So, what he initially shared is the Cairns residential project inspired from the harmonious rock stacking structures of Scotland's cairns. The project embodies natural balance. The software uses 3ds Max Corona and Photoshop. Key zones are entrance, open kitchen and living room. And if we take a closer look, you'll see that this project already looks pretty sweet. So you see modeling, lighting, framing are all pretty fine. The materials are realistic. So what's the issue? What's the problem he mentions? Well, the problem that I had, which I mentioned to Sami, is visible in the very first shot, and it is the color scheme, because to me it fell off. And the reason for this is this that you see here, this cold stone gray tone. Now, obviously, if you make something which is inspired by cairns, by stapled stones, it makes a lot of sense to have a stone gray color in your color scheme. However, having it didn't really make for a harmonious color scheme. And let's together analyze why. So if we take a look at the major colors of this scene, we will exclude white and black. We'll see that we have different nuances of beige. We have warm gray in its bright version in the kitchen or here, and in its dark version here on those coffee tables. And of course, we have red being the pretty much immediately visible accent color, right? So if we analyze this with a color wheel, you will see that the colors, what I just mentioned, beige, the warm gray in its bright and its dark form, and the accent color red are very, very close on the color wheel, right? The cold gray, however, is on the opposite side. Here somewhere is the middle of the color wheel, and you see the cold gray is being on the opposite side. What does this mean? It means that according to the color wheel, the cold gray is the accent color. According to the scene, however, if we go back to it, you see that red definitely is the accent color. And this is the visual discrepancy that fell off to me in terms of color scheme. So the solution I suggested to Same was to have the second accent color be better correspond to the first one. And given that the first accent color is this red, it would mean that the best way to go here is to go for the complementary green, which would be somewhere here. And this is exactly what he did with the current version. And this is the final result. And I think that it looks way, way better this way. The green is there. The green is there. It was already there from the beginning because it was part of the plants that were already there in the first part. You see here, there is also green, but then there are too many accent colors. Now we have the red being the major accent color and the green the supportive accent color, and all the other colors are just beige or warm gray and very, very similar and harmonious. And suddenly we have this very harmonious color scheme that you don't see only on the first shot, but also on the other ones as well. And of course, as I said in the beginning, this project is a good transition to the part of the show where I show you some inspiring works from the last 2 weeks, because this project on its own is pretty rad. Starting with this graphic here and all the other shots as well, they're really cool. And there are some very unique design and architectural solutions that I personally see for the very first time. I'll show you around a bit. But yeah, you see, it's a very nicely done project. It's pretty full, that's true. For some, it could be chaotic, it could be a bit overcrowded, and I understand this, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic or too narrow. It just feels like an apartment with a lot of things in it. And yeah, once again, there are some really cool design solutions like this backlit niche in the kitchen, or take a look at this bedroom, for example. I've seen millions of bedrooms, at least it feels this way. But take a look at this one. This is, I think, the first time that I see nightstand and a night lamp being done the way you see them here. Also, this ottoman or whatever this thing is called by the end of the bed is also pretty unique. And also take a look at the balance here. On the one side, you have this hole in the false ceiling, then the lamps coming from above, and the hanging nightstand. And on the other side, you have something entirely different, which still visually wonderfully fits into the architecture and design. So once again, take a look at those shelves and the holders of those shelves. Everything here looks like it's been done by a designer and implemented by really good builders. And in the end, it's just one wonderful looking work. Just take a look at this kids' room, I assume, because on the next shot we see this double desk. How cool is this? With this back wall, with this soft back wall for both beds, and then these two separate beds with a nightstand and this atmosphere and the lamps and the details. It's just a wonderful project. And I really love how Same decided to actually put in the work. It must have been a ton of work to go back and adapt everything to a new color scheme. But in the end of the day, I think it was really worth it. And hats off to you. And you guys in the comments, gladly let me know what you think about this. Do you find the new version better than the previous one? Or did you like the initial one more? I don't know. I think these were two very different situations when it comes to work in progress and providing feedback. In the first case, in Abe's case, we started from the beginning, and in every step, Abe got feedback from us, which made him advance to the next step, doing almost everything right. Here, everything was almost right. It was almost finished, and it was just something. It wasn't a big topic. It wasn't a big deal that we discussed here with this one color. But the final result, I feel, is way better, way more consistent, way more harmonious and beautiful, elevating the quality of the whole work upwards, which is, I think, what this group is also about. So it's not only starting from the beginning, it's also, even if you're good, if you already have a wonderful, solid base, the feedback can still help you to take your work to the next level. Okay, this was tiring to talk about because once again I try to keep the show not as long as the previous one, so I'm rushing a bit through all the single points that I want to mention. Anyway, we're now at the inspirational part. This is where we talk about, where I just show you a few projects from the last 2 weeks that I found really inspiring, really nicely done for some reason, and we just go together through them and see why I find them to be so great, what is their highlight to me, but also if there are maybe some small improvements here and there needed. We'll start off with this work by Lukas. I call it a tennis club because this is what he describes. Hello everyone, I'm sharing a visualization I prepared for a portfolio recently. This project is a tennis club and was created a few years ago during my studies. I would appreciate any comments. Software is 3ds Max, Corona, Photoshopped, and it's upscaled with Magnific. This is a pretty good description, by the way. It's not a very long one, but it mentions everything that we actually need to know about your work. It's a private exercise, so it's something that you do in your free time for your portfolio. It is, we know the software combination used to do it. We know a bit about your workflow, even how you upscale and enhance your work with Magnific. So yeah, there is a ton of information, even though this is not really, really long. Amit says, I was expecting a sip of ginger tea tail just to wet your throat. No, I don't have ginger tea anymore. We won't be doing this because I don't want to throw up live on air. I have water. But a sip of water is good, you're right. So let's continue talking about Lucas' work. So first, I think easy to agree that this is a really beautiful image, very realistic, very authentic, with a wonderful atmosphere to it. I think Lucas did a great job on the lighting for two reasons. First of all, the sun position is just right because it produces this dark foreground and the dark background behind the building, and the side of the building is nicely lit up, which produces this great tonal contrast that we have here, which makes the building pop up and we immediately know what the whole scene is about. And what's more, even the shadowy parts of the building are lit up enough in front of this very, very dark foresty background that we can perceive the whole form of the building. And the second thing is that the sun or the lighting produces this warm, soft illumination, which suggests this wonderful summer weather, emphasizing the beauty of the park and providing the viewer with a wonderful feeling, right? Who doesn't love weather like this? Especially seeing the soft shadows and the long shadows, it means that it's already late afternoon or something. So even if the day was like 40 degrees, it isn't as hot anymore. And this is weather that literally everyone I know loves. The highlight to me here is the park itself and the landscape. Why? Because it is totally authentic. Lucas aced the fine balance between wild nature and manicured landscaping. And this is something which a lot of artists seem to struggle with. When I see parks, it often looks like this is just some wild forest with some pathways in between. Or on the opposite side, it looks like this is some mid-century gardens of some, castle in Germany or in Switzerland or something. Everything is too staged, too manicured. And here we have a wonderful balance between both. You see the shrubs, you see the wild growing trees, but you also see that everything is really manicured, the lawns are cut, and the mix is exactly what makes it so authentic and so realistic and just a pleasure to look at. For me personally, I really makes me want to be there. Now, in terms of improvement, I already put this in the comments here, but let's mention it once again. The water surface looks weird, like it's hard or frozen for some reason. Lucas explained why. It was because he wasn't able to make a nice looking riverbed, so he decided to mask it a bit with this muddy water. Better option here would be to actually make a nice riverbed, and it doesn't have to be complex. You can just use a nice texture from the Quixel or the Megascans library, and then scatter some smaller stones atop of it and maybe some small greenery, and then just use transparent water above it, and then it would be great. And the second thing, this is one that Amit mentioned, this roof here is way too glossy. In the beginning, I thought it's some type of mirror or maybe some type of solar panel that are mirrored, but this obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, just reduce the blur, the glossiness of the reflections here a bit, and it should be looking more authentic and realistic. But apart from this really beautiful scene, makes me really want to go get a membership in this tennis club. And I hope to actually see further shots. Don't leave it at this one shot here, please. Make some close-ups from the building and some interior shots as well. You already have an amazing surrounding, so the interior shots will definitely be looking great, I'm sure. Okay, let's continue with the next work, which is another exterior and a wonderful one by Paria. She writes, hello everyone, earlier I shared the interior renders of Villa Licht 11 or 11 In this group, now here are the exterior shots where we aim to capture the same modern minimalist design and a strong connection to the surroundings. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this as well. And it's done. We have no. It's a great description, but please in future also mention the project type. Is it a commercial work or a personal one, maybe a reproduction, and also the software that you have used here. Now let's take a look at the images. And it's a fantastic work. I absolutely love this one. The modeling is top notch. The materials are convincing. But the highlight here definitely is actually the whole session itself, because it's like this combination of the camera angles, the different illumination scenarios, the storytelling. Just take a look at this shot. This different roles on your lawn you get from mowing it, right? And with somebody with a bit of an OCD, it's not officially diagnosed, but let me tell you, wherever there is a remote and a table, I will always align the remote to the angles of the table. And if there are many remotes, I'll make them parallel next to each other. So I think this is some at least mild case of OCD. And I'm also the one mowing the lawn in our gardens. And there is a lot of lawn to mow. And I also like having those rows. And in the end, if I'm done and if I manage to do it right, I would actually park the lawnmower, like you see it here, and actually go and take a photo. And if you want me, I can actually show you a few of those photos. Not now, but I'll show you in future. So I absolutely can relate to this storytelling. It's not the lawnmower in this particular case isn't just an asset that you threw up there because you didn't know any better. It's something which actually makes a lot of sense and making all of your images here very, very relatable to the viewer. To me, I gotta be honest here, this is our daily level professional photo session. Even shots depicting one and the same scene, like this one, for example, or one and the same facade, look vastly different. Like the evening shot here, it focuses more on what's happening inside the building, the living room situation here and the bedroom up there, and also the illumination on the facade, the illumination of the trees and the garden, whereas the second shot focuses on the building's facade, the building's form, and it's in the building in combination with the garden it has. So it's really, really, really nicely done. Here we have another example. Here the angle even stays the same. And then we have an evening shot, which is vastly different and beautifully executed, by the way. In terms of improvement, I gotta admit, I'm not a huge fan of this garden house shot, because this tree background here looks very forced. The trees are very dense. It's like you really wanted to make a wall which is absolutely non-transparent, so nothing is visible beside it, and you went a bit overboard. If we compare to what we see here on the sides, for example, here the greenery looks very natural. There are clearances in between, the density isn't as high, we see a house here and there, and it makes it look very, very natural. Whereas here, this looks like this is simply isn't on par, and also the fog is way too thick. So try to achieve a more natural look, or look more closer to what you already achieved on all the other sides. And then we have the scene with the old man. And there is nothing wrong with this scene. It's looking actually very realistic. The framing is beautiful. The lighting works, everything. But the scene kind of feels generic, because there are no real points of interest. So far, we were focusing on the architecture, and suddenly the architecture is kind of gone. We see just small fragments of it with a glazing here or the brick wall there. But the architecture is suddenly gone, and suddenly we have the dude reading his book, which is a good scene on its own, but not really what I expected or wanted to see. Given the essence of this garden house, I would actually want to see more of its kitchen and more of its architecture, rather than just somebody sitting on a chair on the side of it. But that's all. that's really all I have to criticize here, because otherwise, yeah, this is once again a fantastic, fantastic work that I absolutely dig. And it's to be honest, this is something like a lesson in exterior architectural visualization, and I really hope that the group members actually pay attention to this work and also to these artists, because every work I've seen by Paria so far has been really high class. Okay, let's continue. After two exteriors, let's continue with some really moody interiors. First one will be this work by Jihan. Jihan, are you still here? I saw you in the beginning, but this was an hour and 15 minutes ago, so I hope you're still here. And yeah, it's a test scene. He didn't say anything more than this. Dear Jihan, you know how it is. You're a great artist. Talking about your works is always a pleasure, and seeing them in the group as well. But please start telling us more about them, because we're really curious about the background of the project. We see here you did it in Vantage. It's a test render. That's okay. But tell us more about the story of your works, because they often have a story and an actual pretty cool background. Anyway, back to the work. I think this is the third version of this scene we see already. There was also an animation somewhere in between. Definitely, it's a cool situation. Seems like a corner of a living room with a chair for reading and an awesome bookshelf wall next to it. But we already have seen all of this by this point. So what brought Jihan those 82 likes? Well, it's the atmosphere, because this atmosphere is wonderful. It's cozy, it's comfy, it's totally inviting. And luckily, we know, or we can analyze how Jihan achieved that, because it's actually quite simple. It's three main ingredients. We have cold light coming from the outside. We have a contrast to the warm light, defining the focal point on the inside. And then we have the volumetrics, emphasizing the effects of those lights. So let's try to briefly analyze this, right? So what we have here, let's get a blue color for the cold light coming from the outside. We have the gold rays showcasing this coldness streaming through the windows, right? Here it is. And then we have the light cone of this warm bulb shielding the person who's going to sit on their chair from the coldness and protecting, sheltering them from it. And now you might think, well, this is very exaggerated description of the situation, but the thing is, there is something called primal instincts, right? And the primal instincts are something that we cannot just turn off, because people used to live and hide in caves, right, for shelter, because there they were sheltered from rain, from snow, from strong winds, from enemies. Later, the caves turned into mud huts, houses, skyscrapers, and whatnot. And also, people used to make fire to see in the darkness, because before the invention of fire, when it was night, people were just relying on luck to live to the next day. But once fire was invented or discovered, whatever you want to call it, people were able to see in the darkness suddenly. And also fire was keeping enemies away, like animals, because animals fear the fire. Later, the fire turned into light bulbs, LEDs, whatnot. But what we have here are still those primal ingredients, right? We have the shelter. Here, it doesn't matter how cold it is on the outside. We have the radiator on the inside. It doesn't matter if it's snowy, if it's windy. We're on the inside. We're safe. And then we have the light. We have this symbolic fire next to us, keeping us safe. And this is something that this work appeals to, and which every one of us has inside, those primal instincts. So, and I think that this is why I'm showing you this work, because it's an evidence that in order to achieve a good major impact, you don't necessarily need to go big. This scene isn't that complex or expensive to create, but you just need a smart approach. Appeal to something like the primal instincts of your viewers, and your scene will be very, very successful, as you can see here. That's it. Well done, Jihan, of course. Let's move on to something else very interesting, a project that came in the group yesterday. It's The Art of Clay, Where Nature Meets Elegance by Yaman. She writes, embracing the beauty of raw textures and organic curves, this space brings warmth and serenity through the timeless charm of clay. A perfect blend of nature and sophistication, designed to inspire tranquility and comfort. And it's a great description, similar to some of the previous artists. Please share what type of project this is. Is it a commercial one? Because it could be, it could be a project about selling this sofa here, or it could be an actual interior design work, or is it something that you decided to experiment with? I don't know. So it's always interesting to know the project background, the type of project that you're sharing, and of course the software combination that you used in order to make it work. Apart from that, let's dive in. Funny enough, we just talked about primal instincts. Now let's talk about one of the primal construction materials, clay. So it's very interesting to see those work side by side. I could almost suggest that I knew what I was doing as I put them next to each other. Anyway, that's a beautiful work with very clean modeling, good lighting as well, wonderful arrangement of the single elements, furnishing and deco elements. Actually, it really liked it. I very much enjoyed this nicheception here, because we have this big arch niche, and then within we have a smaller niche, and this is where the vases and clay pots are put inside. I think it's really cool. It's like a piece of art, like an architectural sculpture, what you did here, and this is very cool. It's minimalistic, but not in a usual way. We're used to seeing this, like, the Scandinavian minimalistic. It's more minimalistic in a, let's call it, tribal way, which I think is pretty cool. The highlight to me, however, here are the materials and the color scheme. The materials look great and go together very well. I think we can see it here. For example, we have clay, of course, we have stone, we have fabric. On the ceiling we have wood. All of those are natural materials that really fit to each other. And of course the color scheme, which is almost monochromatic, but the way you put it off makes it not boring. On the contrary, it's actually very exciting to look at because of the different nuances of the clay red that you have used. You see it's different on the wall, the lamp, or the couch, and of course all those beautiful tonal contrasts. Remember, folks, if you want to make a scene exciting, tonal contrast is one of the easiest way to go, because you have a contrast, you have visual excitement, there is something happening in the scene. This makes it immediately exciting to look at and dynamic. Now, in terms of improvement, when you have prominent imperfections like this one, you should avoid it being visible elsewhere, which is the case down here. So in cases like this, you just copy the image, go over to Photoshop, then take the repair tool, where is it, and then just go over this, then it's gone, and then you don't have this repetition anymore. I think we see it once again down here, so you can try to mask it there as well. And here you go. And now this pesky texture repetition that always show that a render is an actual render and not a photo are gone, and everything's fine, right? And the other thing is, on the framing of this shot feels slightly off to me. I think you could frame this one a bit better, and same goes for this one. I mean, here we have a central perspective, we have an object of interest in the middle, that's okay. You even have some depth of field. It's visible here, but it's not enough. It's too weak. It's probably a default f-stop value of 8. So my suggestion here is to lower it to 6 or 4, so that the blurriness of the background is more pronounced and this foreground object can stick out for itself. Alternatively, if you want to improve the framing on this shot, you can just go for a rule of thirds. So you can just move the camera a bit to the right and a bit downwards. And then on the third sections, you have this one in the background, still with some blurriness to it. And on the foreground, you have this one. But apart from this, this is a really, really cool work, Yaman, and I'm really definitely looking forward to the next one. Next, we have very exciting work by the Wood. He writes soft linens, warm wood, and raw concrete, where contrast creates harmony, the perfect balance between warmth and rawness. Designed by a brilliant architect whose name I unfortunately cannot recall. If anyone knows, feel free to tag them. Rendering is by me using 3ds Max and Corona and Photoshop for the post-production. Let me know your thoughts. And yeah, my thoughts are that this is something very, very interesting. I also don't know the name of the original designer, but what I know is that I very much enjoy the unspoken thrill of this work. And why is this? It's because this could have been just another industrial style loft with expensive design furniture, funky art on the walls, awesome lighting, but it's not. The way it is depicted here, it feels almost improvised, like some type of a temporary solution. I don't know if you know the Netflix series called Money Heist. It's a Spanish production. It's about an armed bank robbery, and the head of the whole operation, the so-called professor. What we see here kind of reminds me of his secret lair, because we have this very simplistic furnishing. We have those nets over the windows and the walls. We even have this fallen over stool. So it seems like something happened here. There must be a story, an explanation behind all of this, and I want to know it. And this is great because this means you've caught my attention. And why is this so great? It's because one of the major issues we face as 3D artists nowadays is indifference. Clients going through renders like Gen Z going through Tinder profiles, just swiping left. This is a big issue. Seeing something done in 3D, a render, isn't anything special nowadays. You need to catch the viewer's attention. And I had many occasions in which clients reached out to me and they already had renders from their scenes, but they still reached out and said, well, yeah, we have those renders, but unfortunately, when our clients go through the booklets and see those renders, they just keep them because there is nothing catching their eye. And this is bad, because you actually want your render to get the viewer's attention so that people think, hey, let me start daydreaming, let me start imagining living in this house or investing in it or whatever. But if people just switch over and just don't pay attention to the images, then this is an actual fail. And what the vote made here is he managed to get my attention with this work, and I think this is great. I'm not saying we should be doing this at all costs, like a hipster, getting attention at every cost. This, or the Kardashians, this is not the way to do it. But make sure that your work has something to it which is an eye catcher. It could be the absolute photorealism, it could be the lighting, the contrasts, the storytelling, the design. Something needs to stick out at least. Of course, it's better if it's more than one thing, but in an ideal case. But if it's not possible for you to pull it off, just make sure that at least, your framings, something sticks out. Because if you cannot make it, just making something 3D with textures and stuff and putting it out there, this is not a long-term solution for not only for your clients, but also for you as an artist. Now, back to the Wood's work. Personally, I think that those different day versions that you have presented here are unnecessary because there is a marginal difference between them. I think you need to be more selective and critical with yourself. Just choose one and run with it. And also this floor close-up here, it's questionable to me as a viewer. It's too technical. Maybe it's interesting for builders or engineers, but it feels off to the common viewer. So maybe just remove it or reframe it. But other than that, that's a truly exciting scene that I really enjoyed seeing. The evening shots are also pretty cool. Everything has a certain roughness to it. It's not like it's beautifully balanced and polished for glossy shots. And this is why it caught my attention. So maybe sometimes just something being not as perfect as we're used to is already enough to get someone's attention. But yeah, in this particular case, it's definitely more than that. So the vote, once you figure out who the original creator of this project is, please let me know because I want to see more of their work. And now for dessert, we have two really, really special ones. We'll start off with Mena's work. She writes, "Hello everyone, first time posting here and I'm super happy to be part of this awesome community. This is my project House of Wisdom, created for Rhino Design Week 2025, and it was the first place winning project. Congratulations, looks awesome. Would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. I'll drop the story behind the concept in the comments. Promise I won't keep it too long. It's done in Rhino 8, V-Ray for rendering, a little bit of Substance Painter, Grasshopper plus Grasshopper for the fabrics, and Substance Sampler for textures. Photoshop and Lightroom were also used for post-production." So first of all, we have a wonderful description here. There is the whole story about the House of Wisdom being a hub for scholars in science, philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy during the Golden Islamic Age. And unfortunately, it didn't stand the test of time. It was destroyed by the Mongol siege of Baghdad in 1258. But its impact endures to this day, and some of the manuscripts are even preserved to this day, which is really, really great. And back to the description, it's awesome to not only hear the backstory, but also about your workflow, like using Substance Painter and Grasshopper for the fabrics or Substance Sampler for the textures. It's exactly what this community needs. And as for the work itself, it's marvelous. Let's be honest here. Skillfully crafted, precise modeling, tons of historically accurate storytelling assets, fine-tuned materials, beautiful lighting, high historical authenticity, I would say. But the highlight to me here, definitely, is the storytelling and the atmosphere. To me, this could be screenshot from a AAA game or some animated version of a fairy tale. It looks amazing, and the best thing about it, I clicked on the image because I was very curious. I clicked on it before reading the description or going to the comments to read the backstory, and I immediately knew that this is an Islamic scholar doing science. I knew it. I didn't know specific dates or names, of course, but I knew the essence. So, and this is already pretty awesome, meaning that the storytelling of your works absolutely works. Regarding the improvements here, this is actually very interesting to talk about, and this is what I enjoy so much about our shows. Folks in the comments, do you see anything that you would improve about this scene? Because I analyzed it a lot, and I found things to improve on. And these are the spider webs and the weathered materials, because I find them to be over the top. Let's start with the spider webs, okay? Generally speaking, spider webs are a symbol of passiveness. Imagine you have some clothes that you don't need or some stuff that you don't need. You put it in a box, and then you put that box in your attic, and because next to other boxes that you store there, and because you don't need those boxes and the things that you just store there, with time, spiders start making their webs between the boxes. Here, however, so this is the subliminal message of a spider web or a cobweb, wherever you want to call it. Here, however, what you're trying to depict or what you're depicting is actually the opposite. People actively using those spaces to do science on a daily basis. So all of those cobwebs are just too much. You don't need those because they're sending the wrong message. Having one subtle cobweb somewhere here in an area, or maybe beneath a table, just as a small tiny detail, a wink if you wish, it's okay, but don't overdo it as much. And same goes for the weathered materials, by the way. because on the outside of the building, weathered materials definitely make sense, because this is where most of the weathering actually happens because of, you guessed it, the weather. Wind, rain, sandstorms, they take their toll. On the inside, however, such heavy deterioration isn't expected because this is the inside. And given that what you're depicting here is actually um, the time where this building or this structure was actively used, I imagine that it should actually look pretty new. Of course, you can have a bit of a darker color here next to the candles, because it would make sense. But apart from this, I think that this shouldn't look like Lara Croft or Indiana Jones just found an ancient temple, but it should look fairly new. The same way the windows are new, they're not broken, and the clothes of these men are also not torn apart and ripped, right? Because they're new. And I think I know what you're doing. This is something historical, and when we hear something historical, we immediately think about cobwebs and weathering and wear. But in this particular case, what you're depicting is a scene from back in time, and back in time, everything here looked fairly new and clean. So this is something which I think, in terms of storytelling, because this is a very strong part of this work, you should rethink eventually. But Amit says, I agree with the feedback. Well, very nice to hear that. Thank you very much. But on the other side, this is really nitpicking, because this is a fabulous scene and a fabulous work, not only this one, but also all the other shots as well. So definitely congrats on the first prize. It seems very well deserved. And finally, we have something truly special. It's this project by Romain called Oblivion, which, as he puts it, is a mix of poetry, architectural visualization, and sci-fi. And the poetry you can already read here. I won't read it. And what I won't do also is I won't be reviewing this work. And the reason for this is because this is art. And art should actually be perceived and absorbed by its viewers, and not distorted through the prism of someone else telling you how to feel about it, in this case, me. And given that I see this as pure art, I don't want to review it. I just want us to together enjoy it. And so far, I told you what I won't be doing, which, yeah, isn't that great? So let me tell you what I will do, however, and this is to recommend to you Romain's Behance profile, because this is a place where you can find so much awesomeness, inspiration, creativity, and I think you should definitely pay him a visit and also follow him, as I already do, because it's I went there. Usually almost everyone shares a Behance link, and I don't really bother much to go and see the images in high definition. Sometimes I do, but rarely. But in this particular case, I decided that I would definitely be doing this, and I never regretted this, because this is just awesome. This is so inspiring to see, so interesting, so creative. This shows you how much is possible to be done with 3D and the power of post production. Because as far as I know, the works here, including Oblivion, what we just saw, aren't done with the help of AI. So it's mostly matte painting in combination with rendering, and yeah, I totally recommend this artist to you, and to you, Romain. I'm happy to have you in the group, and given the educational character of this community, it would be awesome if you tell us more about your process, your workflow, your challenges, and everything else you'd feel like sharing. It would be very appreciated. And I think what better way to end today's show as with works like this. Of course, since yesterday, I prepared a show on Monday afternoon. Since yesterday, we've had some marvelous works added to the group. Great video by Mohammed. Really, really cool scene by Wong about inspired by a video game called For Honor and his favorite series Shogun. That's a great series to be your favorite one. And I also want to show you this one work by Stefana, which is a wonderful example of pure elegance. This work doesn't stick out that much. You don't see it and you're like, oh man, this is so realistic or not. But once you start going through the single images, you see how delightful the cameras are, the lighting, the compositions. Just take a look at this. There is so much feeling into this work. I just saw it like 2 3 hours ago and I absolutely loved it. Initially, I already told her this. Initially, I wanted to tell her to, ramp up the contrast and make some image more exposed, some of the shots more exposed, but the more I went through this session, the more I felt like it is exactly the way it should be. So remember, folks, it's not always only photorealism, or in our field there isn't only one way to go. We just saw what Romain is doing with his 3D skills. There are scenes that are perfectly realistic. There are scenes that are moody. There are scenes that are storytelling. There are many options. This is a wide field in front of you. So don't make sure that you don't put yourself in a box. Try to, and if you feel like you're already in a box, try to think outside of it. Try to see outside of it because there is a lot to enjoy out there. Now, I said I don't want to make the show too long, so let's wrap it up. Just before we part ways, let me show you I think it's 7 images that I have chosen for you to vote for the next 2 weeks. For our next cover image, this scene by Lucas, we already talked about it. It's awesome. This kitchen by Mohsen, it's almost film noir type of visualization, but I really, really enjoy it. It's different than what we would expect. We would expect more light here and here, but why not? Something that came today, this interior by Molham, very cool one. Romain, I decided to go with this one because I didn't know which one else to pick. Something what we just saw, this work by Stefana, Wong's Japanese inspired scene, and Yaman's clay interior. These are going to be the works that you'll be able to vote for the next 2 weeks. And with this, we are at the end of today's session. As usual, it was a great pleasure hanging out with you for these almost 2 hours. I hope you're having a good start in March, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks at the usual place and time. And until then, don't forget to rock on and keep it real. Much love and goodbye, my friends. Ciao, ciao.